One day, a few years ago, I went for what I thought a regular lunch to catch up with a good friend into going back home and not being the same person again. During that lunch, the conversation we had completely changed my life. And you might wonder what could be so significant in one lunch that everything changes. And in which aspect, I will tell you now. As we were talking, for the very first time, she mentions to me that she has ADHD. I was completely surprised because even though we knew each other already quite some time, I have never heard of her talking to me about that. I didn't know what it was, I wasn't sure. I wasn't even sure to not ask any stupid question, because the first thing that comes to mind, at least to my mind, when hearing about ADHD was the image of a boy running around in a classroom, screaming, jumping, not being able to stand still. And I thought, ADHD. So what is it exactly? To describe to me different life situations of hers. For instance, how she would forget things, she would leave some stuff somewhere not knowing where they are, she would have her busy schedule not easy to handle, forgetting some appointments, being a bit late, struggling with time. And then she mentioned how she keeps having songs in her head and feeling herself a bit like a butterfly going from one place to the other. And I remember myself listening to her and in my head saying, what is she talking about? Because, okay, one thing I understand, okay, it can happen, then the other thing, and then the music in the head and singing and always having a little rhythm and a little song and a little something and always moving around and talking a lot. And, she described those stuff, and I thought, wait a minute, why are you describing me? So this was the moment of thinking, what on earth is happening here? Wait a minute, my friend is describing to me different things that she's living, but all of these seemed very familiar to me. And I started to laugh, thinking, come on, is this a joke? Why are you saying this stuff? So she explained to me more about ADHD and how she's living it. Also about some medications she's taking that was helping her a lot. So I was trying to gather information about her experience. And then when I went home, of course, I went online and researched a lot about ADHD. What does it mean? What is it? Are we bored with it? Are we getting it? Can it go away? Can it get better? Can it get worse? I mean, I really went into a hyper-focus mode to try to learn more about ADHD. And more I was reading about it, more I realized that's me. This is exactly me. So many things. I was like checking a list, check, thinking it's not possible. Why am I finding out about it now? And I was 40 years old at the time. Thinking, all of these 40 years, I didn't know. How can it be? Nobody around me knew anything. I mean, my parents, my teachers, my environment, everybody could see my behaviors, and they didn't know. A bit of a context regarding my childhood, especially school. I was struggling a lot to focus, to pay attention, to understand instructions, to do my homework, to remember my homework, to understand what I had to do for my homework, to be interested in my homework. So I was struggling a lot. And I think this was the strongest and first signs of ADHD that no one noticed, unfortunately. I was constantly changing hobbies, changing sports. At first I was super interested in some stuff, and then as soon as I would get all the needed information and I would understand how things work, I would lose interest. And often I would think to myself, but why am I like that? Why do I keep changing my mind? Why I cannot stay on something and learn even more about it and make it like part of my life. No, as soon as I would want to learn something or practice something, very soon I would lose interest. My mind would be somewhere else, always in my thoughts, a bit of an imaginary life aside. I always felt different. Different in a good way, but also different in a bad way. And also my point of this video and sharing my life with you is so you know that you are not alone, wondering, is this normal? I think this question of wondering, am I normal, is the question that hurts the most. Because this society has created some norms, some boxes, that this is how we should be, this is how we should behave, this is how we should think. And anything that is out of it is aside, basically, is wrong, is not how it should be. And this is how I felt all my childhood, especially in school, and when I was in these environments that I was expected to behave in one way, but I could not behave in the same way. Just naturally, it was not working for me. Also with other types of studies, I had trouble to stay focused. With jobs, it was very complicated for me to stay and just do the tasks. Even if I didn't like the tasks, I had to sit there and do the tasks. Most of the time, when I was in different environments, I was feeling as if I was trapped in a jail. And basically all I was doing was trying to fulfill my duties, but also waiting for the time to pass so I can live. I can live so I can live. So always very hard to settle. But when you would look at me, you would see a person that was super calm, seemed probably having their shit together. But in my head, things were not like that. Everything was going fast. I was thinking a lot of different things, many thoughts in my mind all the time. I had difficulties to sleep because my mind was racing almost permanently. So there were many negatives, especially negatives in terms of what others were expecting me to deliver and to do and to behave. And then there was the other side of me that was always very creative in terms of finding solutions, wanting to give joy to others, but I was very, very unhappy because I felt different. I felt that no one understood me, and also that I was not really understanding others in every aspect. I was not understanding some behaviors, as if everybody wanted to be part of this box. And I never wanted to be part of this box. I was always out of the box, which at that time felt like a problem. And now for me, it's more like a gift. But this took a long time until I got where I am now to realize that. So while doing all this research about ADHD, it was a time that I was really reflecting on who I was, on my life, on everything. I was not sure which part of me was ADHD and which part of me is my regular personality. And if are they two different things, or am I one thing? So many questions coming through my mind, which are not yet solved. I haven't solved everything. But at that time, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, everything was like falling apart in one sense, not knowing who I was. But then I realized that actually what is falling apart, I can build it back up again, but in a way that finally it made sense to me. So I had all the clues now that most probably I have ADHD, but I needed to go through an assessment to be sure also towards this aspect and see if I can take any medication, if it can help me, because my focus in general was really not good. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with anyone you believe can benefit from it. Side story, I also have MS, which affects a lot my memory, my focus, my ability to stay concentrated for a long time, my ability to read material and to get all the information. And I thought for years that this is due to MS, which could be that part of it is also MS. But then I realized that actually this trouble that I'm having is not that new. It got worse over the years, probably due to MS, but this is not now, this is not new. I had this since my childhood. So it's good to have in mind that maybe it's one thing that makes our memory or our whole behavior not to be as optimal as we want, but maybe it's a combination of things. In my case, I have for sure 2 reasons. I have ADHD and I have MS, that both are impacting a lot the way my brain is functioning. So I was very determined to find out if I do have ADHD or not. So after some months, I finally got an appointment to do my assessment with a psychiatrist. The assessment lasted around 4 or 5 hours, and it had a big part that was like an interview with more a regular conversation, finding out a bit my symptoms, let's say, and also if these are new or if I had them already from childhood. So it was a combination between questions regarding my present and also my past when I was a child, around 8 to 10 years old. The doctor wanted to make sure that the things I'm describing and I'm going through now are not new symptoms or new behaviors, that they are also part of my childhood. There was this interview and also this big questionnaire. He was asking me a lot of questions, and many of these questions I had already replied to him through another questionnaire that he had sent to me at home. I had already answered the questions myself, and also another questionnaire for my partner to answer. And if I didn't have a partner, it could have been my parents or my mother or anyone who knew me well. And I had sent him already this. After the part of the questionnaire and the interview, there was the worst part for me. I had to sit in front of a computer with a little button in front of me, and there was this type of game that whenever a symbol or a shape or a color passes in front, I had to click a button, and there were different instructions. But it was so boring. At least for me, it was true torture. I had to stay to do different computer games for around 20 minutes each, but it was super repetitive, and I had to click only if the red square appears, or I don't know what it was, but it had to do with controlling probably or testing the impulsivity or the attention or different things like that. After the assessment was finished, my psychiatrist informed me that I have ADHD, this combined type of hyperactivity, inattention, impulsivity, a bit of all in the bucket, and that he asked me if I would like to try some treatments to see if it helps me or not. And I said yes, I do. I want to get some support to see if for me it's working or not. The medications that I've tried so far are methylphenidate, lisdexamfetamine Elvanze, Ritalin, Strattera, and currently Focalin. I had to try a variety of different treatments because even though at the beginning they all went good, they all helped me a lot, soon after there were different issues. Some didn't work so well, and then I needed to increase the dose, and as soon as I did increase the dose, I had the side effect of a very fast heartbeat, or also some caused me to feel a bit depressed, and really my mood was going very, very low. So now I'm taking Focalin. I'm taking one pill, 5 milligrams in the morning, and in case I really need to be super focused, I can take also one after lunch, but this is a rare case. I don't usually take more than one. I prefer to stay with one. It's helping me. It's not magic. It's not something that I take the pill and suddenly everything is in place. There are other structures that I have put in place in order to feel good and to feel more focused and to be able to do the things I want to do. I will tell you about this too in another video. What is mostly important for me to share with you is that having this information, this knowledge that I have ADHD, without really knowing yet what does ADHD mean, where where is it coming from? So many unknown that we still don't know really. Getting this diagnosis for me was truly very, very important, because I realized so many things and the source of many of my struggles, and also the source of my positive behaviors that I really love. So it was an eye-opener of, that's why, that's why. Oh, really? And this made me understand who I am, how I behave, how I can even use this in a better way. So it's very important. Anyone who is listening, if you're not sure, do I have ADHD? Should I get an assessment? Should I check it out? Should I go further that path? My own opinion, through my own experience, is yes. If you feel you do have ADHD and you want to be sure about it, and you want to go through the path of a diagnosis and an assessment, and you want to go through the path of trying medication, it doesn't mean medication is the only solution, but it's also a door, it opens some opportunities to try different things. And also, once you do have your diagnosis, of course you don't need it, but it can help. You understand better yourself. You're not doubting anymore of, why am I like this? Or, oh, what is the matter with me? Or, why I keep forgetting stuff? Or, why can't I stay focused? Or, why? All of these whys. If you get your diagnosis, then you know why. And this can calm you down of thinking, this is part of me. This is who I am. There's no doubt anymore. Because people with ADHD tend to really doubt about themselves, about what they're saying, about being believed. So once you do have your diagnosis, you don't need to convince anyone anymore, and you don't need to doubt about yourself anymore. So for me, it was something that truly changed my life, because then I knew what was happening. I knew why I was struggling with so many things. I will do more videos on the things I struggled, the positive stuff, the challenges, the gifts, because for me ADHD is a combination of things. Yes, there are some challenges, and the biggest part of the challenge is that society is not meant to help us with different things that we are facing, The biggest challenges come not from us, but through others not being like us. That's the difficulty, that we need to live in a way and deliver things in a way that the majority of people are expecting, and this is how it works for them. And then we have to adapt and pretend that, oh, for us this is normal and natural to be like that, but it's not. So the challenge is this, that we need to make some efforts in order to deliver what is expected from us, but not coming from the same way, because our brain is a bit different. But the good news is that once you understand better who you are, once you understand the challenges you have, how to cope differently with them, once you see the gifts you have and your superpowers, then you can really channel all of that to work towards your advantage. And this cannot happen if you don't first know, is it ADHD? It's not ADHD. Maybe you say, you know what, I don't care about the diagnosis. I am sure I have ADHD. I don't care about treatment. What can I do? Well, there is a lot of things you can do, because what you need the most is the right tools. This is it. The awareness, the knowledge, the tools, people in your environment to support you, and among all, to have you to support you. And for me, this was the biggest gift, that suddenly, instead of being against me, I was by my side. I was on my side. I was finally seeing who I was, who I am. I could finally appreciate myself. And finally, I could say, there is nothing wrong with me. And I keep telling that to the little person I used to be when I was a child. There was nothing wrong with you. If you find yourself or someone in your environment that needs help, understanding ADHD, understanding who they are, coping better with their different challenges, wanting to see more, what are their positives and how can they use them in the best way, wanting to understand how can they make the best out of their life. I'm here to support you. I am a certified coach, but above all, I'm someone who have my own experiences going through life with ADHD and MS. I have overcome a lot of challenges, and I am able today to help you with the right tools, with the right knowledge on how to live your life in a way that brings you joy, that fulfills you, that you feel good about yourself, about your life, about your dreams. Keep in mind that I will never ever recommend to you any medication. This is not my role. This is a role of a doctor, a professional medical doctor, a psychiatrist, to support you with treatments if this is what you want to do. If you don't want to take any treatment, for me it's absolutely fine. There are many ways to cope differently with ADHD symptoms. My approach comes more going back to the roots. I'm much more focusing on nutrition, on physical activity, on resting, on what we can call basic self-care. But it's not that basic actually, because a lot of things in the head and the functioning of the brain play a big role depending on these things. So it's very important to not underestimate these little things. I got the chance these last years of my life to really go deep into all of these topics that before I used to think, oh, that's okay, I don't need to rest. Oh, that's okay. I mean, I was resting due to my MS, but I never thought to rest because of the ability of my brain and how it's functioning. And today, especially through different healthy practices towards nutrition, everything has changed. So if you are interested in changing the way you're living, changing your everyday life, going more towards supporting yourself, being on your side, taking care of yourself, I'm here for you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.